Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Convos with Customers. I'm your host, Harold Bell, the head of integrated marketing and brand storytelling at CyberHaven. I'm here today with Peter Holcomb. Peter, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Holcomb. I'm the founder and CEO of Optimo IT. We are an AI security consulting company based in Denver, Colorado. Most previously, I was the former CISO for eMed Digital Healthcare, and we implemented CyberHaven for our DLP program.
Cool. Now, given that, maybe for folks who are at home not familiar with eMed, do you want to give us kind of a background about eMed and kind of your specific role, kind of the scope of your role there?
Sure. eMed is a telehealth services platform. We were helping customers be able to test, specifically during COVID. We were delivering at-home tests so that individuals could go to school, parents could go and drop their kids off at daycare, people could fly on planes. So this is during the height of COVID and needing telehealth services to expedite testing. My role really involved me initially starting as a principal cloud security architect.
Okay.
From there, I was transitioned into the CISO of the company. I helped develop the information security program from the ground up, enabled a lot of the compliance stack with regard to us getting HIPAA compliance, SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, ISO compliance, and then also implemented a lot of security tooling, one of which was CyberHaven for our DLP program.
Nice. So when you think about, prior to implementing CyberHaven, what were some of the, challenges, or either from a feature parity perspective, maybe the legacy tools that you were using didn't have, those next generation kind of features and capabilities, but what were the challenges that that made you even want to evaluate CyberHaven?
It was most definitely visibility.
Okay.
Understanding what the heck are our users doing day in and day out with the data, with the interactions they have with the data. How can we gain more visibility, but allow them to be productive at the same time? We also wanted to reduce alert fatigue, especially with our analysts having to comb through hundreds of alerts every single day, if not thousands, and allow them to be more productive, get to the signal with all the noise going on in their environments, and give them a better way to do that. CyberHaven allowed us to do that.
So when you just double clicking on what you just said, when you think about, quelling the alert fatigue, obviously by reducing the number of false positives, when you talk about the visibility, the necessary visibility throughout the software, or not the software rather, but the data lifecycle from creation to deletion, how important is context-aware lineage to providing that visibility for you?
Yeah. I'm just going to say it, and this is, really harking back to the Wu-Tang Clan days. Context rules everything around me, right?
Cream.
And it's super important to have that context to be able to understand why is a user taking an action in the way they are. And so context is really the king of data security. It's really now becoming the de facto king of AI. Understanding, from inception, so at the endpoint level to the next hop, which could be a Google Drive or a Microsoft OneDrive, all of that data lineage was deeply important to us. But we needed to have the context and then correlate that back with the content that was being initially acted on. And so having that full context-aware access, context-aware lineage gave us that proof point that we needed to be able to implement CyberHaven correctly.
So taking that a step further, when you think about, there's obviously the context is king. Having lineage will allow you to obviously trace what's happening to the data, how it's being modified, how it's being shared, not only internally but externally, but then also stopping, sensitive data when it's being shared inappropriately. But can you talk through beyond that, from a change management perspective, because there's blocking bad behaviors and then there's changing bad behaviors. So can you talk about how did CyberHaven allow you to not only block bad behaviors, but change bad behaviors and empower data owners to kind of facilitate data in a safer way?
Yeah. A great feature that CyberHaven has is the coaching feature, which is coming up via pop-ups. An individual will be able to interact with data. They'll get a pop-up notification, and it'll either be an alert or a warning that says, "Hey, you may not want to input this data into this chatbot because it violates policy." We were a healthcare company, and so we had to really be stringent on how users were interacting with PHI, and not inadvertently get personal healthcare information or patient information exfiltrated or leaked into models that don't need to have it in there.
Yeah.
And so the coaching mechanism that the pop-up thing provided to us was great because we could coach in real time. We could inform best behavior. We could also allow the user to be productive, but also understand that there's a shared responsibility that the user has to be able to interact with the data appropriately, as well as just being a good steward of data handling processes.
So I wanted to double click on something you said in terms of PHI, and obviously HIPAA is the kind of the regulation that governs how you handle patient healthcare information, right? Can you talk about how important it is to have a tool like CyberHaven being in a regulated industry? Because there's non-regulated industries that may have more kind of autonomy, less strict with compliance, whereas you don't have that because there's not only fines around the data, being leaked itself from like a user perspective, but then also you have these governing bodies that are fining you loss of customers. There's all of these maybe ramifications and consequences that come from being in a regulated industry that non-regulated industries don't have. So can you just talk about reconcile how important a platform like CyberHaven is for organizations like yours?
Yeah. We are at a point where we need to enable trust. And to enable trust, you need to have not only the people, process, and technology in place, but you need to be able to understand how you use that so you can enable trust with your customers, with your partners, with your investors, and certainly with the staff. And the way you do that is you share with them, why are we doing this program in the first place? What is the intent? What's the driving factor for how we're going to make this succeed? And what's the benefit that we're going to gain from it? And the real benefit is that we're enabling data security, we're enabling user productivity, we're enabling security best practices, but we're allowing people to move at the speed that they want to and not cut corners.
Nice.
And that trust gets built from all the things that we do with regard to implementing best practices from a process standpoint, and then implementing the security tools that are going to allow us to do that effectively. CyberHaven was that tool that we chose to do.
Love it. Love it. Summarizing all of those kind of talking points into one question or answer rather is, you've seen what it's like, life was like pre-CyberHaven, post-CyberHaven, right? Kind of the BCAD kind of CyberHaven, right? What can you kind of explain to the audience what that delta looks like pre and post? Like help them understand what life as a CISO looks like, kind of lack of visibility, being in the dark versus having, this level of visibility that you previously didn't have before.
Yeah. Lack of visibility, as you mentioned, is huge, but it was really, it's a black box. We don't know what's going on under the hood. We don't know how users are interacting with this data. Are they even acting with it with due diligence and due care? And that's what CyberHaven allowed us to do, was gave us a clear box or a glass box of peering into the daily actions of individuals and business units alike, giving us also the ability to set good policies per business unit so that marketing, sales, and customer experience could interact with the data and have effective policies that work for them versus the development, data, and DevOps team that might be interacting with data, code bases, all kinds of different technology systems that needed different policy sets, right? So we were getting a clear box that could allow us to peer into all the actions of the individual, set good policies to good user behavior analytics and modeling best practices, and then significantly helped us reduce alert fatigue within our security operations center. There are a tremendous amount of false positives. We needed to mitigate that. We needed to reduce that. CyberHaven allowed us to do that by, again, pinpointing the noise to signal ratio and getting to the heart of the matter, the heart of the finding, and acting and saying, this is a true positive. We need to act on it. Let's go ahead and either shut this down or let's go ahead and coach the user on what best practices look like and model good behavior.
Love it. What would you say would be, as a last question to you, because I'm sure a lot of our audience may be, either in the market for new DOP solution, concerned about insider risk. They may even be, specifically evaluating CyberHaven at the moment. So I'm just curious to know, from your perspective, what guidance would you prescribe to the audience out there if they happen to be kind of in one of those three boxes?
Yeah. You need to have top-down buy-in from leadership. Leadership needs to set the tone for why the program is being developed and implemented in the first place. That buy-in then garners buy-in from the staff and the adjacent business unit heads. You need to have a crawl, walk, or run approach. Don't just try to boil the whole ocean, as people would say. Try to go ahead and implement it with the IT security team first, and then maybe another business unit, and then another business unit before you get to the senior leadership team that's going to eventually have to have DLP enabled on their assets.
Yep.
Create a roadmap for what success looks like by understanding the requirements that have to be met in the first place. Every project should be understanding what are the requirements that we need to have a successful engagement. Understanding those things that are as clear as mud, as people would say, then you know what to implement from a roadmap perspective that can have that crawl, walk, run approach implemented. And then continually have check-ins through a data governance committee that's going to be able to understand how people are using the data within their respective business units, have a quarterly meeting for all of those people to get back together, share lessons learned, share limitations of the platform or where they can be improved, and then work as a single cohesive unit to implement that change so that not only are the staff being change agents themselves, but leadership can drive that change with the heads of each business unit so that it's a symbiotic relationship with the entire organization.
Love it. I mean, he used symbiotic. I mean, you can't get better than that, all right? Symbiotic relationship, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So guys, Peter, thank you for joining us today. There was some really, pertinent insights that were shared with the audience, especially that last piece in terms of the 60, 90 day or 30, 60, 90 day action plan. Peter walked so you can run. So I want you to run, go, inspect, check out CyberHaven, evaluate us, see what all the goodness that Peter was talking about here today for yourself. So again, thank you for joining us. Peter, thanks audience for tuning in. We'll have several more of these convos with customers coming up in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. Take care.
Thank you guys.